Welcome to Magical Books for Kids, a podcast sponsored by Magic Everywhere, Inc., a company based in Florida. Hosted by Michael John Sullivan, this is your place to hear the very best children's stories and an opportunity to get to know your favorite authors. Now, here is Michael John Sullivan.
Welcome to Magical Books for Kids. This podcast is sponsored by Magic Everywhere, Inc. I'm your host, Michael John Sullivan, and today we are happy to be joined by Marlene Sharp. Marlene is originally from New Orleans, but now is a San Fernando Valley girl. She's also been involved with many companies, and currently she's the top dog at Pink Poodle Productions. Her clients include Rainshine Entertainment, Kisane Entertainment, Netmarble, WeFixYourScript.com, Toonbow, and the Center for Learning Unlimited. She is also a former producer of the TV series at Sega of America. She worked on much more than Teen Choice Award-nominated Cartoon Network series Sonic Boom. And in fact, her hedgehog duties took her to the heights of nerdom as an official at the San Diego Comic-Con in 2017 as a panelist. She's also the proud winner of the 2019 LA Shorts International Film Fest script competition. And she certainly has incredible background as far as what we want to talk about today, as far as children's entertainment. Marlene, welcome to our show.
Thank you. Thank you. You did a great job with that introduction. I gave you a lot of words and kudos.
Yeah, you gave me plenty of help, of course. And I must say that we have myself as well as my business partner, Shelley Larkin. We have worked with Marlene on a couple of different animation series, so we're very happy to have her. And she certainly is well qualified to help many out there if you are interested. And certainly you can go to Pink Poodle Productions, look that up and find that on the web, and that's where Marlene is located. So Marlene, what were some of your favorite books growing up?
Oh, I had so many favorite books. I really love to read, and still to this day, I am a huge fan of books. And I gravitated toward a few authors as a kid. Beverly Cleary was one, Judy Blume. And then I picked out two books for today because they were standalones. One is The Cajun Night Before Christmas, and that is something that speaks to my deep Southern roots. And the author of this book is just Trosclair, which is a good Louisiana name. And it's illustrated by James Rice, beautifully illustrated. And then the other book is Are You My Mother by P.D. Eastman. And this was a book that I really loved when I was in preschool. And it's something that my parents would read to me. And then when I learned to read, I read it myself. And it's just really sweet and touching and funny as well. So
some of my fondest days being a father back in the 1990s is when our two daughters were born, and the opportunity to sit down at night and read to them some of their favorite books. And with children, of course, especially at that age, they want to read it over and over and over again, to the point where you kind of get a little sick of it, but they learn. It's how they learn to read as well, and they both love to read to this particular day. So do you have any fond memories like that? You mentioned your parents reading to you. Is there anything in particular that struck you or you remember from those days?
It was a pre-bedtime ritual. I don't know that it happened every night, but that was something that I looked forward to at bedtime, was having a story. And I would always try to con them into doing more than one. So, oh, that book is too short, so that we need to do another one. Or, well, we already read that one. That one's so familiar. Let's read a new one now. And another thing, my mom would take my brother and I to the library often, especially in the summertime. We'd do a summer reading program where there was some kind of incentive for kids to read many books, and both my brother and I, we didn't really need any incentive. We loved books. So we would come out with a stack every week. And so summer reading was always like amped because we could pick what we wanted. And, when we were young, our parents read to us. And then as we got older, we would check out books that interested us. And one of my areas of interest was how to get your kids into show business. So, so I went from these sweet little "Are You My Mother" stories to snagging an agent and joining the actors unions.
So that sounds like your childhood sort of like formed what you wanted to do later as an adult.
Yeah. Oh, sure. Yeah. Yeah. Everything that I did as a kid, I do it in my career in a different way, but playing Barbies and playing with dolls led to my love of storytelling, and also love of reading led to storytelling and putting together the elements of on-screen stories. And also I love toys, so I never really stopped playing with toys. All the on-screen projects that I've worked on, or most of them anyway, have a toy component to them. Toys are a very big part of children's entertainment, which is fine by me because I love them all. And of course, girls' toys speak to me. They resonate more. I am a girly girl, so I like dolls, like dress up and let's pretend and role playing in a very girly way. But I have utmost respect for all kinds of toys, from video games to outdoor experiences like jungle gyms and things like that. So they're all great.
Everybody has a favorite Toy Story, okay? Mine was kind of a sad one. I wanted this toy called Tommy Turtle. And Tommy Turtle was, if you blew a whistle, Tommy would come walking to you, or as a turtle, come to you as a turtle. And I would put it underneath the couch and everything. I would be blowing my whistle. I remember that Christmas day, blowing it. And Tommy never came. He just stayed underneath that couch, all afraid. So my father took me back to the toy store, AKA Santa at the time. And when we brought it in, the man behind the counter said, "Is this another Tommy Turtle?" And so my father goes, "Yes." So he took the Tommy Turtle from him and threw it behind him where there was a pile of Tommy Turtles, which obviously Tommy Turtle was not working for many kids that Christmas Day.
Oh, no.
Many years later, it couldn't have been more than like 3 or 4 years ago, I saw it on Amazon, Tommy Turtle. And I said, "I'm not giving up on this toy." So I bought Tommy Turtle. I haven't pulled it out of the box yet for fear if I did blow the whistle, Tommy Turtle still would not come. But at least I have that particular toy in my possession now, many years later. So like you, I love toys, and I've worked before at the World of Disney, and I loved merchandise and everything.
Mm-hmm.
So it's in my blood as far as the whole toy situation. So did you have like a favorite toy back when you were growing up?
Oh, so many favorites. I loved baby dolls. I loved role-playing mother. And I really loved my Baby Alive, which was a doll that you would mix together the food and you would feed it to the baby. The baby even had like a chewing mechanism, so that you feed it, and then you wait a few seconds, and then the baby would eliminate the food and then you would have to change its diaper. And I thought that was just the coolest thing. I loved it. And I wanted a baby brother or sister, and until I got the real thing when I was 5.5, Baby Alive really she really stepped up. She was almost as good
And
as the real.
she kept you good company, I guess, until what, your brother was born? Is that what happened?
Yes, exactly. She's a good placeholder and a good training tool and so forth. And yeah, I loved that doll. My parents even have old cassette tapes of me talking about Baby Alive as if she was a member of the family. So
Well, that's wonderful. And it appears, of course, that you did change your brother's diapers a few times, or?
not really. That was a different story. The real thing, the shine was a little bit dulled.
Oh, was it from the smell? I mean,
No, I just realized that I guess there was a lot of hype around getting a baby brother or sister. It seemed like all of my friends had one, and my parents and my grandparents talked it up a lot. And then the reality of just him staying up and crying all night long. And my brother had a lot of colds and allergies even as an infant, and so there were a lot of doctor's appointments, and I felt like a second-class citizen, as older siblings often do. And so I thought, gee, this isn't all it was cracked up to be. I bought into that hype, and I did ask my mom on several occasions if we could take him back,
oh my goodness.
for an exchange or a refund or what have you. But he wasn't like Baby Alive or Tommy Turtle. He was there for good. So
yeah, you can't bring him back. The funny story is, it reminds me of when our second was born, and we brought her home and we put her on the bed, and she was squirming and everything. And then her oldest sister came in, looked at her, and she looked at me and she says, "Can we take her back?" So I guess her dreams of being a lone child went down the drain that particular day when we brought the second one home.
Yeah, the thing is, you don't realize it until it happens. It seems like such a, it's a case of be careful what you wish for, because it seems so great, and then when you're in the moment actually there, well,
That's
it's
another
just the
story.
reality is different. Yes,
Yeah,
it
yes.
is different. But I love my brother, and I'm very glad that he's on the planet, and we didn't take him back. So
Well, that's
it's all
good
come
news.
full circle.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I will say that my oldest daughter with the youngest, they're very good friends today. And so everything has worked out for everybody.
Oh,
So,
that's
yeah.
great.
Yeah. So,
That's nice to have a
so,
sister.
so
That's sweet.
why don't you read the first book, okay? And just tell us a little bit
Okay.
about it and the background that you had growing up with it and your thoughts. All right.
Sure. Okay. The first book is The Cajun Night Before Christmas. And I came to this book late in childhood. So I was probably about 14 when I actually read it through. And I was familiar with it, and friends of mine had it. And, but I didn't get my own copy until I was 14 and in high school. And what happened was we adapted the book as a Christmas play. So I was in the drama club, and every Christmas, our drama professor, Mr. Werner, shout out to Mr. Werner, he would encourage us to take something and adapt it into a Christmas play. So it was usually a book or something along those lines. And so one year we did a Charlie Brown Christmas, but we did our own version. We didn't just use whatever was on TV. It was a lot of creative liberties taken, and I went to an all-girls high school, so all the parts were played by girls. So yeah, we did a lot of, and it was a Catholic school, so anything objectionable, not that there was anything in Charlie Brown or even Cajun Night Before Christmas, but it was all very sanitized. And we would do a little tour around town to daycare centers, and preschools, and nursing homes, and we would do our play. So Cajun Night Before Christmas was one of our projects, and I really loved it. And I I practiced the Cajun accent, which my granny actually had a Cajun accent. And so I tried to listen very closely to her. And then also there are some politicians in Louisiana who had the Cajun accent. And I don't know, there was no YouTube back then. So I don't know how maybe I went to the library at school and listened to some recordings of Louisiana politicians, and there was also a couple of TV chefs. Tony Sashry is one, and Justin Wilson is another, and they had these kind of Julia Childs style shows on the public broadcasting, local public broadcasting. So I listened to them. And actually I listened to Justin Wilson on YouTube today so that I could try to replicate the Cajun accent.
Yeah,
Bear with me.
You don't have any accents. It's amazing.
Oh, thanks. Well, the New Orleans accent is actually much different than Cajun. Cajun is, so the people who are considered Cajun migrated from Canada, from French-speaking Canada to Louisiana. So the Cajun accent is a mashup of English and Canadian French and other stuff, I guess, that was picked up along the way on the road trip. And so it's really quite jarring when you hear it, because I can't think of any celebrities, for example, who have a Cajun accent. There was a really good example of it in The Princess and the Frog, the Disney movie, The Princess and the Frog. The character of I think he was a firefly, and that was amazing. That was such an authentic accent. But otherwise, you don't hear it very much, and it's quite challenging to find examples unless you know where to look. Okay. So anyway, I'll give it my best shot. And do you want me to just, how much should I read?
Read about 10 pages.
10 pages. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So this is Cajun Night Before Christmas by Tross Clare. Too bad you can't see the pictures. I encourage everyone to get a copy of the book, check it out from the library.
Why don't you hold it up? Then we can take a. Yeah, you can hold it up. There you go.
Can you? It looks like it's.
Yeah, it's not. Well, it's not feeding through for some reason.
Yeah, well, I guess it's because of my fake background, and
yeah, that's
I guess
okay. So just read it.
Yeah, I'll just read it.
You can describe it a little if you want.
Okay, so it's these beautiful hand-drawn illustrations of Cajun country, Louisiana. And so in Cajun country, they have little cottages that are built on the water, on the swamp. So there's a lot of that. And then this is actually based on the poem that most people know, The Night Before Christmas. So it has the same kind of rhyming, but it's written in the accent. So
okay, great.
I'll just jump in. 'Twas the night before Christmas, and all through the house they don't a ting pass, not even a mouse. The children been nestled snug on the floor, and Mama passed the pepper through the crack on the door.
I love your accent. Very nice.
Thank you. Then Mama in the fireplace done rolls up the ham, stir up the gumbo, and bake the yam. And out on the bayou, they got such a clatter, make sound like old Boudreaux done fall off his ladder. I run like a rabbit to got to the door, trip over the dog, and fall on the floor. It really does help to see the pictures because, for instance, dorg is dog. Okay. And let's see, old Boudreaux, I believe, is another dog. They don't have a picture of Boudreaux falling off his ladder, but Boudreaux is a very common last name all over Louisiana, especially in New Orleans. Our neighbors across the street, their last name was Boudreaux. As I look out the door in the light of the moon, I think, man, you crazy. Or got old too soon. 'Cause there on the bayou, when I stretch my neck stiff, there's 8 alligator a-pulling the skiff. And a little fat drover with a long pole and stick, I know right away gotta be old Saint Nick. There's some lovely pictures of the swamp, and instead of a sleigh and 8 reindeer, it's 8 alligators pulling a portly, bearded old man in a little boat, and he has bunches of sacks of packages. It's really, really sweet. And the trees have moss on them, which is
Right.
another standard feature of the swamps. Mulfasan. Oh, yes.
No, I'm going to say, are you a big Christmas person? Because I get kidded all the time that I keep my Christmas tree up year round, and I light it
Right.
every night.
You know, I really like Christmas decorations all year round, like especially ornaments. I find ornaments so fascinating. And a lot of them, I guess, are basically toys that are just they're just rigged to be hung on a tree. So I like to find ornaments in a thrift store or wherever, even Target. Target has some great beautiful, not expensive Christmas tree ornaments. Otherwise, I wouldn't say I was nutty for Christmas, but I do like a hint of that Christmas spirit all year long, like what you're saying, your statement with the tree all year. I agree with that.
I keep it in my heart every day, even though people kid me. That's okay. See, I just
Yeah,
rhymed there. See, I just rhymed there. See, getting in the
that's
spirit.
beautiful.
Yes, getting in the spirit of the book itself. Why don't you read a few more pages, and then we'll talk about what you're doing currently, and get an update on how you're involved with the children's industry.
Sure, sure. Well, faster and faster, the gator they came. He whistled and hollered and called them by name. Ah, Gaston, ah, T-Boy, ah, Pierre, and I'll say, Gee, Ninette, gee, Suzette, Celeste, and Renee. To the top of the porch, to the top of the wall. Make crawl, alligator, and be sure you don't fall. So there's pictures of the alligators disembarking from their position in front of the boat, and they're crawling all over the little Cajun cottage.
Wow,
While,
have you ever come upon an alligator since you grew up in New Orleans?
you know, not accidentally, but on purpose at the zoo, I've seen them. And then, maybe 10 or so years ago, I went back to New Orleans to visit family, and my boyfriend at the time was curious about taking a swamp tour. So we did that, and the first part of the swamp tour was a demonstration with a baby alligator. So there was a real live baby alligator that a man was handling and talking about before we got on the boat for the tour. And so that was really interesting. And then when we got on the tour, there was a really cool, another demonstration where they would dangle a whole chicken over the side of the boat. And then these alligators would swarm the boat, and then they would let the chicken go, and the alligators would jump up into the air and just snap the whole chicken and eat it whole and then disappear under the water. It was really quite breathtaking to see. It was on the same level as the flipping the killer whales at SeaWorld. Of course, the alligators weren't quite that big, but it looked like it was a stage show. But these were wild alligators, and they will almost literally jump through hoops for food. So yeah, that was interesting. I had never seen that before, and that was my first experience up close with alligators was as an
I
adult.
have not come upon an alligator since I've been down in Florida, so I will knock on wood and be
Yeah.
thankful, because any body of water in Florida is wise to stay away from, and
Yes.
so. But it's interesting how in a children's book we get a different feel for alligators. Of course, some of them are friendly, some of them want to play with you, and then there's the reality beyond the children's book and everything like that. So I think that's what we do. Is a lot of times we work. Obviously, when you're a children's author or you're working like you do in children's entertainment, you're taking fantasy and entertainment and you're combining it and everything. So what's the projects that you are currently working on right now?
Well, I have a number of projects that I'm working on with one client in particular. It's called Kinsane Entertainment, and it's part of a larger conglomerate called Rainshine Entertainment. And Kinsane is the children's division of this company, which is actually headquartered in Mumbai, India. And two of our really cool projects right now, we're adapting two totally separate children's book franchises into animation. And one of them is called Young Captain Nemo, and the author is Jason Henderson. He's a friend of mine, so shout out to Jason. It's a book trilogy about a descendant of the original Captain Nemo from the Jules Verne books. And so Jason wrote this trilogy. It's a best-selling book series. The third book will come out next year, and the prior two there was one published last year and one published this year. So the company that I work for, we optioned the rights from Jason, and the publisher is Macmillan, but we worked with Jason and Macmillan too. So that's one that we're adapting for the screen into an animation. It'll either be TV or film, or possibly both at some point. And then the other is a book series called Wedgie and Gizmo. And the author is Suzanne Selfors, and the illustrator is Barbara Fissinger. I believe that's how you say her last name. So her illustrations are so fantastic. I want to make special mention of those. But the publisher is HarperCollins, and HarperCollins actually commissioned this book series and hired Suzanne and Barbara to write and illustrate respectively. And we are working with them to adapt that book series into animation as well.
And I should point out, as I did previously, that myself, Shelley Larkin, and our company called Magic Everywhere Inc., we have worked with Marlene on a couple of different projects. One was originally called The Power Orphans. Now it's called Dr. Neverme, and it's an animation series, and it's being pitched at this moment, this week, to hopefully somebody who's interested in it. And we certainly, Marlene helped us get on our way. So if there are people and creative people out there that are interested in somehow having Marlene help them, where would they reach you, Marlene?
Well, you could send me an email, marlene@pinkpoodleproductions.com. And you could also send me a message through my website, pinkpoodleproductions.com. So yeah, basically, if you think Pink Poodle Productions, you will find me. You can search for me online, and I'm pretty present on the internet because I have a big mouth. Big mouth meaning posting stuff, especially on LinkedIn and Facebook and Twitter, but especially LinkedIn. But yeah, my email or my website, good places to find me.
So if you're a children's author or you're somebody who's interested in animation, we highly recommend Marlene Sharp of Pink Poodle Productions. Marlene, thank you so much for joining us, on our podcast. It's been a pleasure to talk to you about children's books, children's entertainment, and hear some of your stories as a child.
My pleasure. And I would just like to close by giving a mention to one of my newest clients, the Center for Learning Unlimited, which is a school that specializes in educating kids who are on the autism spectrum. And they have a relatively new animation program. And the animation program is for adults who want to train for a career in animation. And so I just started working with them, and the students are so talented and so incredibly knowledgeable about anime and manga, animated movies and TV series, and their art is just spectacular. So I am the entertainment liaison for Center for Learning Unlimited, which is based in Los Angeles, but they are pivoting a bit and having a lot of online classes. So it's worth looking into if you're someone who is interested in animation especially, and you would like to train for a career in animation, and you have special learning needs, especially on the autism spectrum, ADHD, those types of things. So
Wonderful.
anyway,
It's a great project. It sounds very interesting. So congratulations on that, and congratulations
thank you.
on your projects with Rain Shine. And we look forward
Thank
to
you.
hearing more from you. I'm Michael John Sullivan, and
Likewise.
thank you for joining me on this podcast of Magic Everywhere, Magical Books for Kids, sponsored by Magic Everywhere, Inc. You can join us again for another podcast next week. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to Magical Books for Kids, a podcast sponsored by Magic Everywhere, Inc., a company based in Florida, hosted by Michael John Sullivan. This is your place to hear the very best children's stories and an opportunity to get to know your favorite authors. Join us for another fun storytelling podcast next week.